You about tired of listening to sports shows with all the woke bullshit? So are we. This is Patriot Sports Radio.
Patriot Sports Radio.
Fed up with the national talking heads and biases of mainstream sports media. If it's sports from the high school level to the pros, we're talking about it like the red-blooded Americans we are.
God bless America.
God bless America.
God bless America.
Let's do this. And now, here's Eric, Angela, John, Chris, and the coach.
Welcome back, my friends. If you're new, then welcome in. Patriot Sports Radio. My name is Eric. I'm your host. Glad to have you with us. Thank you for those reviews. Chris is here, shoveling coal in the engine, making things at HQ go. John and Angela are here as well. Not only that, we have company. Our guest this evening played 11 years in the MLB, 9 of them for our beloved Milwaukee Brewers. He was named to multiple all-star teams, no big deal. Now he's living the dream, supporting his kids as they pursue their own goals in various sports. Bowling Green's greatest export, and they make Corvettes down there. Cory Hart. Cory, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. So we saw you retired in 2015 in a way that I just love. I read that you told your agent just stop returning calls.
Yeah. I was super fortunate. So I was in Pittsburgh, and everything hurt. So I think my last at bat, I had a homer in Washington, like on Father's Day, and then I was kind of like a bench guy then, and they needed a pitcher for a doubleheader the next day, so they told me, they put me on the fake DL. So I went on the DL, and I told them, odds are I get hurt because when you go in like a phantom DL, you go a month, so they send me home. I don't want to leave. So but it was good though because I was able to start coaching my kid, and then that kind of made me not want to venture off too much anymore.
Yeah, that's what I saw, a picture of you and the team, I think at Miller Park. I think it was, like a U12 team back then. How old is he and where is he at in the journey now?
We were in Arizona. That was my, I think, we were 12 back then. But that group just graduated. So all these guys, wow. So we've been kind of making the graduation rounds because most of those kids actually went to the high school that I coach at. So, but, they're all kind of going different directions. But I think from that team, most of those kids have, they got scholarships somewhere.
Nice. Well, yeah. Outstanding coaching. Where's Matthew playing now?
He signed to go to Yavapai. It's like a junior college up in Prescott, Arizona. They're pretty good. I mean, I guess it's kind of a well-known school. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit of ways. I guess not a ways. It's 2 hours away, so he's far, but I'm sure I'll find my way up there quite a bit.
Close enough. How long did you coach him?
So I got hurt in that last year when I was in Pittsburgh, and they told me either to go home and work out or just stay with the team. So I told them I was going to go home. So when I went home, and I figured the season was going to end soon enough. So I started the 11U team for my kid, and then once I started, I didn't want to leave. So then they kind of gave me the option to. They didn't really want to release me because they figured if I got released by Pittsburgh, Milwaukee would be the next step. And they played Milwaukee a handful of times down the stretch, and they didn't want, for whatever reason, me to get hot or me to beat them. So they said, go home, we'll pay you, and go coach your kid. So I was coaching 11U, making some pretty good money. So I think I was probably the most expensive coach in club baseball of all time for a minute.
Had to be.
It's not a bad deal.
Yeah, dangerous. They don't want that. They don't want those going on the tally.
Well, they just figured, because I was like, they assumed that I think we played in Miller Park, and I had a pretty good numbers there. So they're like, just go home. We'll keep you on the payroll. I think I was pretty close to getting that 10-year mark overall. So they were pretty cool, man. Those guys, they did me well.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you're a fan favorite. I assume Milwaukee was good to you. Was the city good to you? Just living around here.
No, yeah, we loved it. So yeah, I mean, of course, we were retired as a Brewer, but yeah, my kids grew up in Milwaukee. I think we were for that stretch, we were in Milwaukee more than we were here in Arizona. So, yeah, the kids love it, and they kind of have a lot of really good relationships. And so, I mean, usually that's one of those things that I tell people if I do anything, I want to do it with Milwaukee, just because the comfort and the familiar. I know everybody there, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that sort of brings us into the fantasy camps and stuff. I see you still involved with the team. I think you were posting from spring training this year and last. You still keep up with all those guys in the office and whatnot?
Yeah, I talked to some of the coaches, and I try to keep track of Rock because, of course, we live here, so the fantasy camp's a good time for me to hang out with the guys. I still talk to a few of the guys, but it gives me a chance to kind of catch up with guys that I'm good with, but don't really talk to. So it's kind of a cool little reunion for some of the old players, and so it's one of those things I look forward to every year. Just trying to catch up and put a uniform on for a minute it's like a week of drinking and baseball. So it's
no sprints.
It's not a bad gig.
I mean, what's better than that?
It's no 60-yard sprints at fantasy camp. No. There's nobody I hear talk about fantasy camp more than Rock. Is that basically his deal?
Oh, did he break up?
Oh, possibly.
No, 80 guys. I'm still here or no?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
I'm good.
All right.
No.
Moving on to Bob. Bob Uecker, synonymous with the Milwaukee Brewers. You think of one, you think of the other. Did you have a lot of interactions with Bob in your 9 years here as one of the premier players on the team? I assume he took a liking to you.
Yeah, Bob's awesome. So that's one of the things. Every time I go back to Milwaukee, I make sure I go up in the booth and talk to him. But he's so good with. I don't know if he's good with everybody anymore. But when I was coming up, man, he loved my kids. So, he kind of saw my kids grow. So it's pretty cool to see his reaction every time he sees my kids every year just kind of grow. So he's great with the players, and of course he's the funniest person I've ever met. But just a genuine, like, super duper Brewer, like, just diehard fan that gets to talk about his team all the time. So it's a cool little experience. And it's kind of cool that he was our guy because you're gonna meet a guy like that. It's kind of everybody knows him. So when you have a relationship with him, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's nobody like Bob Uecker. That's something we have that the rest of the league just doesn't have. Chris and I were talking about those 07, 08 teams. Man, the city was on fire. It really came together, like the small market team. We heard about you guys, you and Cory, or you and Ricky Weeks, Prince coming up, and Braun, and then it sort of all came together.
Yeah, I think that's a lot like. I mean, talking about. Of course, I was watching Tampa, but when you have teams like Tampa, when Houston went through their run, even when Chicago went through their run, you have these markets that young guys get surrounded by, like, kind of veterans that they can handle the pressure. They can kind of handle the role of kind of leading the way a little bit. It made us so much easier for us to kind of go out there and relax a little bit and kind of be able to play and just enjoy the moment. Because it's kind of crazy when you go from a team back then that hadn't won in a long time to getting being young guys, kind of that extra pressure. But I think back then we had Sheets and Kendall and when CC came over, and of course Jenkins was amazing back then. But it was a cool little mixture that made it a lot easier than it should have been.
Did you have a clubhouse guy who sort of kept everybody loose? Like we got Brent Suter now.
The Raptor.
That guy's a national treasure.
Yeah, I got that on a shirt. Brent Suter's a national treasure.
No, actually, Council and Kendall were amazing.
Oh, Craig for sure, right?
Yeah, that's so cool. I always talk to people about it because, you had personalities like Prince and Bronny, and then all of a sudden you get a guy like Counselor who can start talking, and those guys got quiet really fast. Just because the leadership that came with him was just, amazing.
Was it clear then that he was going to be a manager?
Yeah, I mean, back then he was super helpful. Like he was, obviously more of a player coach back then than anything, because he was towards the end of his career. But he was so valuable in the clubhouse. I mean, him and Cirillo back then were, so cool to have, just to be able to pick their brain and kind of work through things, and just guys that did so well, and they had so much. The voice kind of, made everybody stop. There's not a lot of guys anymore that can talk and shut a team up really quick, and those guys had that aspect that helps us out. And so it was just kind of cool to have that leadership with guys that more of a role player. So there was, they kind of experienced it all.
So the way we sort of got in touch with you is we saw a fundraiser for your daughter Riley's trip to the NBHA World Finals in Georgia. That's the National Barrel Horse Association for you casuals. How long has she been involved with rodeo?
Maybe 3 or 4 years. So she was in like English horse, but probably for about 5 or 6 years before that. So we went from English to rodeo type stuff, and she's had a good little run the last couple of years, so it's been fun. But she's so cool. She's 17. She doesn't she doesn't want us to pay for everything, so she wants to kind of do her own thing. And of course, I help by getting fundraisers or trying to help her out. But she does a lot of it by herself. So we try to kind of kick in if we can.
That's awesome.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's hard to find nowadays. I'm like that with. I have a 17-year-old too, and I'm like that.
Her name's Riley too.
Yeah, her name's Riley. Riley Shea. Yeah.
Nice.
So if your daughter used to do English and now she does barrel racing, if she was like getting ready and she had to have walk-up music, what would it be? Like that tells you what kind of person she is. I want to know.
I do that. I have no idea. I think her and my other kids kind of keep their favorite music aside. Like they know I want to listen to like Hardy or Morgan Wallen, so they'll let me listen to that and act like it's okay.
That's what my kids listen. That's all they listen to is Morgan Wallen.
So
all right, we got a question in the chat. Can we grab some of these real quick?
Yeah.
We got one of my favorite baseball guys, big Atlanta Braves fan, Heavy Steps. He does our baseball show with us. He's got a toughest pitcher ever faced, Corey.
Zambrano, probably.
No, I think I own Zambrano a little bit. I think I did okay against him. Honestly, probably John Smoltz, probably.
Smoltz.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have
that'll
a lot
make
of
him happy too.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of bats off him, but he was so good. Man.
Fun to watch too.
Yeah, that
was a fun chase.
That rotation was unreal. Now, although I picked on the casuals, do you have more questions?
No.
Okay. I have to ask, what's the difference between English and rodeo stuff?
So English is so if you were like not to watch would watch it, but they have to dress all like proper. They have like the suits and they have like little
English, right?
Yeah, and it's the jumping. So they jump over. It's like it's called hunter jumpers. So they they jump. So like rodeo type or Western is barrels and roping and like gymkhana different more like patterns and things like that for time. English is more jumping, so you have different patterns you have to go through.
It's like baseball and basketball. It's two different deals. It's not even the same.
It's two different deals. So English is a lot more proper and a lot more. It's annoying. Like we would go to some of these like events in California. And you have all these like celebrities there that the horses are like $500,000, and my daughter's got a $10,000 horse out there trying to make it work, and it was fun for a minute. But I think she got over the trying to act like she was super proper, and she wanted to
ride a horse.
It was different. It wasn't more good. Yeah, and like a lot of times they didn't even judge the horse. If you looked, of course my wife is only 5 foot tall, so both my girls are pretty short. So they want, just like anything, they want the look. So she could ride perfect, and you have this 5'10", 20-year-old out there that looks the part. They'd always kind of go veer that way because the setup looked better. So Western's just easier. It's just time. Just go by time. So whoever's fast gets the money.
Yeah. She just wanted to go fast. Man, they fly
She's
around.
like Ricky Bobby, right? She just wants to go fast.
Hey, nothing wrong with going fast. We actually had to pick a barrel racer this. We did a rodeo fantasy league this year with a friend of ours that is another Western Skies podcast.
Casey Budge.
Yep, and he lives in Wyoming. He's a big rodeo guy. He put a big fantasy rodeo team or league together, and we got in on it.
We didn't know fantasy rodeo existed until we met that dude.
We're picking by names. Like if you give me a Chev for a bull rider,
give me a Jackson.
And a Jackson, I'm good. If you give me an Oklahoma Roper, okay, let's grab that.
That was our problem. We picked way too many guys from Oklahoma, and our team sucked.
But anything that can get the guys doing something, that's kind of, I guess, I need to look into that. We got a lot of rodeo dads that need something to do.
Yeah, you guys probably know your shit. You probably
we get a pretty big league going. Full disclosure, Cory, you are my favorite baseball player of all time, and I grew up in Oklahoma, and so about 2007, I started saving my money. I'd fly into Milwaukee for a couple weeks when you guys had a home stretch, and I get to watch you guys. Then I have to fly back home. But it was a lot easier when you were in Indiana because I could just right to the Indians. It was a much quicker trip. That going through Chicago all the way up to Milwaukee is a shit leg, but worth it if I get to hear good walk-up music.
Yeah, that was the first thing he said when I told him we got Cory Hart for the podcast. He had the best walk-up music ever.
No, see, well, you know what? Yes, that's right. So I had to try to make sure I pick a good song because I sucked most of the time. So that way, we should had a little bit of a, I had to give people smiles at least with my music, not necessarily how I played. So
are you kidding me? When you unwind that, get out of here. I mean, yeah. I don't want to go off fanboy weird.
Yeah, these guys have been a little excited the past week or so. That's legit.
I'll tell you this. The day we started this podcast, I said someday we're going to have Cory Hart on. I didn't think that would ever actually happen, and here we are.
You're one. No big deal.
No, I appreciate
you're two.
No big deal. So how about the Indians? What did you think about? I used to go up there quite a bit and watch you guys play. Did you like that team? That was fun. That was fun baseball there.
In Indianapolis?
Yeah.
I liked it. Well, that was kind of like my first, I guess, kind of taste of, I think felt like I had a chance to get to the big leagues. So it was nice. But the same thing, like in our minor leagues, I was always with like friends. So minor leagues is always, I guess, to me, it was easier because you play with a lot of guys that you come through with. Right. Something like I had JJ and, of course, I say that, but JJ, you probably don't remember Dave Krenzel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Me and Dave were pretty close, and so was JJ. So, we had a group that we lived together that, we'd played together for like the last 4 years in minor league. So it was kind of fun. And that was our first time we could actually fly because AAA was the first time you fly, which, of course, the schedule is terrible, but it's a lot easier than taking like 14-hour bus rides.
So Ogden Raptors.
Ogden, dude, that schedule is a nightmare.
Yeah, I would imagine that. Can we get into that a little bit? Because I think that's overlooked a lot with the people that are watching what the minor leagues are.
The minor league experience.
This is the grind to get to the majors are glamorous, but it's not all glamorous.
Is the food as bad as they say? Is it all Firefest platters?
Well, talk about the minor league. So Ogden is in the minor league. So we had teams in like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Canada. And I mean, we would literally play a game and get on the bus at like 1 in the morning and take a 14-hour bus ride, 15-hour bus ride.
Fucking bus to Idaho.
It's not like, and it wasn't a glamorous, like everybody gets their own seat. Like, it's a 50 seat and there's 45 people in there. So
everybody getting their own seat would be classified as glamorous.
For minor league. So I always stay with JJ because we both weighed 100 pounds. So I'd always get on the floor and just sleep on the floor. And of course, back then you'd have cell phones. So we would have these huge bus rides with our little Discman, and we'd go like, of course I say Canada because Canada, we were all old enough to go get a porn. So we would go get magazines, and then you just have
that was before the internet, kids.
Yeah, so just a bunch of magazines in that bus. But yeah, there's some interesting bus rides.
Pre-internet. And all you had was a Pearl Jam CD. and a fake identification card.
But they used to talk about long days. Like you got to park at like 12, so we might land at like our bus might get to the hotel like at 10. Then have a 12 o'clock bus to the ballpark.
Oh, man, you love the game if you're getting on these buses.
And it's a little different now. I think those guys get paid a little more. Like we were getting like $8.50 a month for that.
Oh my gosh.
They're talking about food. So when I grew up, I was like pretty picky, I guess. So I wouldn't eat peanut butter, and there's tacos. I didn't eat tacos. So your only option before the game is peanut butter and tuna.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So legit fire festival. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't lying. That's real.
But can we talk about like how big, tall your metabolism? Like how many of those do you have to pound to be satisfied? My God.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, of course, that was a long time ago, so I'm sure they've gotten a little better. But back then, it was pretty rough.
I mean, hopefully they've gotten a little better. What do you think about these Savannah Bananas, this circus baseball?
Dude, I think it's pretty funny actually. I was supposed to play in a game in April or March or April, and we had a game. Like I said I'm old, so I think I took 2 days of batting practice and I pulled my oblique. So I couldn't go, but I was supposed to fly out to go play against them, which I wasn't too mad because I would have hurt. I got hurt training, but I'm sure I would have definitely got hurt playing. So, but it's cool.
Yeah, those boys look like they're in top physical condition.
They're doing backflips and shit out there.
Yeah, it's a cool little. I think everybody that I know that's gone, they love it. It's like a cool little take on baseball, and I guess the good players. So you kind of have that Harlem Globetrotter type feel on a baseball field.
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted it as well.
Yeah.
They're selling tickets like crazy, so it's working.
All right, I want John to be able to fit his questions in because John wanted to talk to you about
Alfonso Soriano.
I want to know.
Cubs.
So I graduated high school in 07. So that was right in the heyday of, I remember watching Fukudome's first game, hitting the game-winning home run.
We had fun.
I love
with that
those
name.
teams. Yeah, I want to know what your take was on some of those wacky Cub teams there at the end of the 2000s era. If you have any memories or any, like I already brought up Zambrano. I would imagine he would have been a handful to deal with if you hot dogged a home run off of him and whatnot. But just as a Cub fan, do you have any memories from playing the Cubs that you'd like to share?
Well, I mean, I guess my least favorite moment was we were playing in Wrigley, and Soriano hit me a line drive. I was playing because when I came up, I was fast, so I was in center field, and he hit me a knuckleball. So they changed the field, but back then you couldn't see like below the guy's waist.
Oh yeah. So
you would see a swing and just have no idea where the ball's at. So he hit it, and I got like such a late jump on it, but it knuckled back and hit me right in the chest. Like I caught it, but it was terrible. I think I made all the sports centers like basically how not to do it, but at least you caught it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are some fun teams, man. That was a pretty cool like rival there for a minute because Zerbano was great. Of course, that's when they had Kerry Wood and Dempster. I hated facing that dude, but
Dempster had a lot of junk.
Yeah, and he was kind of a dick, like
yeah.
So he had that. I mean, he's not really, but like on the field, he is.
He's a smart ass.
He had that, like, so I hated that guy. I mean,
I think John started the conversation earlier before you got here with, can I ask him about some of the asshole Cubs?
Sure. Dempster just looks like he just has the vibe of a junk baller who just throws shit and talks shit. He's a hilarious guy, but yeah, some of those teams there was just a lot of personality, and like Matt Garza after that, or a lot of the guys that I remember, and then Terrio DeRosa. Went on to other teams, but I just remember really having an affinity for that group because they had such personality. So just being on the other side, playing them, I was just curious what that was like. So it seemed like I'm sure playing them so much, you get to know them pretty well, at least what they're like on field. And I bet that was interesting. That was a good couple of years for the NL Central, I think.
It was good, but you know what? In the reality, I think as a player, we actually didn't mind the Cubs. We were more. Didn't really care for the Cardinals that much.
good.
Like the Cubs, because it was so funny because back then they had Pinella was their manager.
Yeah.
And I think we like beating them more just so we could get to the clubhouse and listen to him talk. Like his interviews are amazing. And then versus actually, because the guys are all actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good.
So.
All right. I'm glad to hear it. That was kind of like the golden era for me watching the Cubs. And obviously watching the Brewers, the Reds, and the Cardinals, a billion times a season as well. That was just something very memorable for me as a baseball fan.
In 09, my birthday is October 5th, so I had flown up, and you guys swept the Cardinals in that homestand in the into 09. Nice. 3 games, boom, boom, boom.
Oh, to get in?
No, we didn't get. We were rough. We were rough.
Yeah, no, they just beat them.
No, that was in St. Louis where Braun hit the walk-off.
You remember during that stretch, you remembered when you beat the Cardinals in a series because those assholes never freaking lost a series. It was so frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my
you have
my
an
rant aside.
8-game lead going into September. You can count on the Cardinals to cut that to a half-game lead by about the 3rd week. There was a real rivalry between fans back then. There still kind of is now, but they would come up here in droves and call Miller Park Wrigley North, and you'd hear big.
They still do that.
Don't sell your tickets to Fibs campaigns, and it rarely worked. They'd still get in there. Were the asshole fans in Chicago yelling shit all the time?
Yeah, but I always tell people I grew up. My dad was like the old school dad, so I grew up like constantly getting yelled at and told how bad I was. But I'm sure it was more of his he was always trying to motivate me as, you effing, and then just everything was bad. So once I got there, none of that bothered me. So,
you're like, this is just like Dad in my corner. Let's go.
And we made the playoffs in 08, and I had told I guess a reporter that because they're like, man, how do you deal with all these guys just wearing you out? I'm like, I don't hear them. My dad was way worse. He still brings that up. I'm like, well, don't be a dickhead, dude.
Yeah.
My dad was terrible. He was good, but man, he was rough.
You catch yourself doing that to your son sometimes in your head?
No. Well, I mean, I'm more sarcastic. If he takes a pitch, I'm like, hey, nice at bat, dude. Good job. If it's strike, I'm sarcastic about it just to piss him off. That's bad. I think, and then how bad it was that So I just kind of. But he's already, and I know how they are. It's hard enough as it is, so he gets pissed at himself. So I just try to. I feel the fire a little bit, but just that so he knows that I pissed at him. So.
Yeah, a little more positive reinforcement. Let's talk about the current state of MLB. The game sort of got a makeover in the offseason with the banishment of the shift, pitch clock, bigger bases. I'm not sure we needed those. Limits on checking runners. What's your overall impression so far? I expected to hate it. I kind of like it.
He's frozen.
50-50. I don't mind. Man, I guess just so I can watch the games faster. My schedule is terrible. So the games are quicker. But I don't know if we really needed quicker games. Like, I don't know. I so I was time of the game. So remember Doug Davis?
Yep.
Like he would never be able to play today. As good as he was so slow, and that was that. And then manipulate so certain people, and of course I hated the thing, kick stuff, and touch all these body parts. I don't that.
Yeah, Ryan Braun would be.
I was just gonna say Ryan Braun would have a hard time.
He'd be out on strikes without ever swinging the bat. He's got to fix his gloves.
Yeah, but I think now it's spring training. I guess those guys had a chance. I mean, size of it, humongous. We spring training. We get on these big. And it's guys go watch like the softball, they have the extra base safe. Like,
Oh, you're froze. I think he's froze.
Yep.
He'll be back. Fear not. I see movement.
Yep. I'm like, I just saw a move. I hear him now.
He's alive.
Let him know his internet.
Yep. Oh, should I put it in the?
Oh, there we
there
go.
he is.
I'm back.
He's back.
Yeah,
See?
we got you.
You're frozen for a
Sorry.
second. We were worried
Your
about
internet went wonky.
dude, wow, Arizona internet sucks. Sorry, I'm far away.
No worries.
Yeah, probably. You out? What do you got? A farm going? It looks like you.
We got a lot, man. We got too much going on.
You must have horses, right, for Riley?
We have everything. Yeah, she's got so she has 3 horses and then 3 retired horses. So it's 6 altogether, I guess. But then we have
The retired
donkeys
one's got to
and
eat too.
goats and chickens and rabbits and cover all these
Yeah,
feed.
you got
It sounds like a lot of
alpacas.
I was gonna say, is she a senior coming into her senior year?
She'll be. She just got done with her junior year, so she has 1 more year.
Yeah, that's my Riley's the same way.
There.
Yep. She could start
she's
buying
busy,
some
man.
feed.
Dude, that's expensive, man. It's I bet we spend over $2,000 a month on food for horses and the animals.
Absolutely. I mean,
It's
when you rodeo, that if you're going to nationals at barrel racing, you are committed. That's not that's not a one check type deal in the first of the season. No.
That's a lot of poop too. That's a lot of horse poop.
Spending
No,
$50 a
that's-
month on Timothy hay for some guinea pigs. I guess that's not bad.
Tell you what, I'm good at throwing hay and picking up some poop.
Oh, I bet.
I'm not handy with anything, but I can shovel some manure.
Does she get out there and clean a little bit? Is she
Yeah,
good
she
at
does. She does a lot of stuff, but I mean, she does besides horse stuff, she does dog stuff too. She does police trained dogs, the bite
that?
stuff.
Oh, wow.
We see the
Nope.
the dogs attack them. She does that stuff. So
Wait, she puts the suit on?
yeah, she's I guess they're decoys. So she trains 2 of them. She has a puppy and a 1-year-old. So
What kind of dogs are they?
Awesome.
Malinois or something, Belgian Malinois.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you'd say.
They're
Yeah,
crazy.
those are legit ones.
They're
Dude,
crazy.
the things
Yeah.
those dogs can do are incredible.
They can climb ladders. Oh, all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff.
They're so smart. So
Yeah.
she kind of trains them before they get to the next trainer. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Because they
She's-
go for a ton of money. So she'll train them, and then these trainers will get them and then overtrain them, and then that's when they go for huge money.
Yeah, that's you sleep well at night with a Belgian Malinois in the house. This
Yeah.
this rodeo, does it take her all over the country? See, the finals are in Georgia. Are you traveling a lot for that?
Yeah, so we were actually going to Reno Monday, and then she'll go to Vegas, and then sometimes Utah. We were we'll go to somewhere in Utah, else in the country somewhere, and then Colorado. We go, and then we're going to Texas in October. So she kind of, because Arizona is really good in the fall and spring, but then of course it gets hot, so it kind of shuts down here in the summer. So she kind of wanders off, and I say she wanders off. We have a horse trader, so I got to drive her. So we log in some miles.
I bet. Well, what do you want to talk about? Some Brewers, guys?
Yeah, let's get in some futures.
Well, I want to know how you feel about how the team's been run the last few years. We managed to stay competitive in a small market with a relatively limited budget. I think once in a while it all comes together, like in 08 or 2018. We made the NLCS. What do you think is the key to that and for a Milwaukee to remain competitive?
Pitching. Oh.
It's tough, man. It's anytime, because small markets, I guess Milwaukee's not necessarily, they're small, but they'll spend a little bit of money. But it's tough when you compete with the big markets. So, when you try to go up against a team that has a $200 million payroll and you're, hovering at 100, they can't keep, it's hard for them to keep all their guys. So if guys get really good, and if too many guys get good, then it becomes an issue because I think you try to figure out who you want to keep or who's more valuable, or who you might, get more in a trade for some other guys. So it's challenging, but I think Craig's done a great job. I mean, because he's such a good. I mean, I think it's harder as right now because of DH. I think he was so fun to watch in the NL because he can manipulate the lineup.
Yes.
He works his bullpen so well.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of the DH. I mean, of course they've got off to a pretty good start, but the DH is kind of, to me it kind of hampers him a little bit because he was so good at manipulating things, and so I felt bad in that aspect because I think that was a huge advantage for them.
Yeah.
Listen to this, Corey. The New York Mets payroll this year, 345.
It should not start.
It's $346 million. But let me tell you what's on the 41 million is on the injured reserve. The next closest is the Yankees at 279. Then the Padres at 245.
Yeah, it should not start with a 3 ever.
Well, I think when I played, I think the highest was probably 212 or 210. It was never even close to 3.
Was that the Yankees because they had
A-Rod?
Yeah,
probably. I mean, that or LA. LA always had a big payroll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Milwaukee sits at 121.
It's respectable.
Yeah.
That's good, but that's where we're saying, once I think they always leave themselves a room for if they are, if they keep playing well, they can go get somebody.
Yep.
Or they can kind of unload a few guys if needed to. But they do a good job of the ownership, so they know their limits. So I think that's where fans can kind of, I guess, get frustrated sometimes when you have to trade a player or, like Renfroe had such a good year last year, but you had, he was going to make a lot of money, and you had 2 or 3 minor league guys that were ready to step in, at a fraction of the cost, and you kind of sometimes you have to pick and choose, so you value more.
What do you think about our starting lineup right now as far as pitching? Our 5, 4.
When it's healthy, it's really good.
It's phenomenal, right? But
yeah, it's when it's healthy. Well, even last night, I thought.
Up.
No, I think the same thing. We hitting and stuff, still up and down. So if you don't hit, it's a lot of pressure. Like yesterday, the kid I don't even know how to say his name. The guy that made the start last night.
I don't know.
Tehran. Yeah, dude, for him to come in, he was been part of the team for like a day, and to go 5 innings, 1 run, it was huge. But then, you got to, if you score a few runs, it takes pressure off the bullpen. So I think it's
what do you think the hitting's
same
going
thing.
on? Well, I mean, what's happening right now with that? Is that contagious?
I don't know. It's contagious, but I don't know the philosophies anymore. Like when I was there, our guys were so good at making guys prepared. Not because every coach makes your guys prepared, but mentally, like understanding what the guys are going to throw you and be prepared for every bat, every situation. Whether with runners on third or second, the different outs, the different relievers, different starters, how you might get pitched. And we had like books on so many like numbers that helped me and helped a lot of the guys. I don't know if they still have that stuff, but to me, like, I watch some of these at bats and it looks like they don't have the information they need. It makes sense.
Just sort of,
absolutely.
You'll see
homework.
You'll see it. Yeah. So like the homework was, Del Swain was so good at it. Eddie Cedar was so good at it. So you have those guys. And we used to have a video guy named Joe Crawford, dude. He was so smart, and he made sure that, so he would. Everybody, every pitcher. There's, these guys have every access to everything. So, but Joe would break it down to like, all right, you're a big right-handed guy that has swing and miss potential. You suck at hitting breaking balls. So he would put me with everybody else. Everybody like that was like me. Then he'd have like, more contact hitters. So he would find different contact hitters throughout the league and then give them our contact guys. So everything was kind of spread out. But he did such a good job that, I would say I was always an average player, but I was always like over prepared for that reason, just to give myself a chance. And our guys that were around, like, were really good at that. So like that.
That's awesome.
Did JJ Hardy do that?
Yeah. So we had to grow up pretty fortunate. Yeah, he's definitely a ladies guy. He's got the look.
Girls
man.
love that guy.
Got the baby blues, man. It's kind of tough to beat. But no, JJ was man, the group I came up with was very. Our priorities were always like working hard, so it was easy. Because he's still one of my best friends, so he was a hardworking guy, but we came up together, so we both fed off that. So it was just kind of second nature to come up and work hard and make sure that each other we kind of fed off that, and Bronny kind of fit right in that mold too.
When they bring guys in towards the end of the season, like they brought CeCe over, and man, he was all in. I mean, he pitched every other night for us and pitched well. Is that a rarity, or do most guys come into the new clubhouse, I'm all in, let's go?
No, I think everybody tries to fit in and make it the best they can, but that CeCe was a little different. I mean, he definitely was. So for you to have a player like that was, for obviously was going to be a free agent the next year, to pitch as much as he did. I mean, most guys wouldn't do that. They would say, I want to stay on my regular my regular routine. I don't want to pitch a short day rest. Did he pitch on short rest like the whole month of September, I think?
Yeah. It was like, hey, we need this one. Get out there. All right.
And they would try to tell him, the coaches would try to like, hey, we don't want you to get hurt. We know that obviously you're going to be worth way more than we can afford, so we don't want to make sure that your experience here is great. And he's like, no, I'm still playing. I'm going to go. Give me the ball. So, he refused to come out. He refused to have every time he started, he was 100 pitches. Like he didn't want to come out.
Yeah.
And he was like that. But same thing, he fed off the energy, because Milwaukee's fan base is crazy. They're awesome.
Oh,
They're very into it. And that span, that was such a, big year. And I don't know, it was such a cool thing to break that streak. I think he fed off that moment, and we of course fed off him because he was ridiculous down that stretch.
Yeah.
We didn't get season tickets this year, but we've had season tickets, and my kids have grown up there. They love it. It is a family friendly park. The tailgating, all of it.
No,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's an experience. It's more than just a game. So I love going there. I don't get to go there often, but I love when we go there.
What do you think this Vegas park is going to be like for the A's? I heard they're building it on 20 acres. The park is going to take up 9.
Have you seen the Raiders?
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I would imagine, it's going to be nuts. I mean, it'll be over the top. It'll be over the top, but you know what? They'll make money.
Yeah.
And they'll get way more fans there. They'll get a ton more fans there.
Because guess what? When Milwaukee plays Las Vegas, we're flying into Vegas. I mean, that's just an excuse, right?
And they're anticipating 60% visiting fans out there, I think.
Oh, I would imagine it's going to be everybody's bucket list. So I mean, guys that are dedicated fans, that you look for, hey, where are we going to go this year? And everybody's going to want to go to Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
the A's got 2,500 in the stands.
Yeah. Do you only watch baseball, or are you a sports fan all the way around?
I'm a sports fan. So my baseball is the most. It's usually what I don't right now I'm watching. During baseball season. I don't usually miss games. I'm kind of a diehard, but I watch football. I'm a college football fan. I watch the Packers. So we try to go to the Packer game once a year. Of course, we haven't been in a few years, but we have some friends in Green Bay, so we try to catch a game every year. And then same thing. I watch college football a lot.
So I'm a huge college football guy, and I'm a big Oklahoma State fan. Who's your team, Kentucky?
I'm a Tennessee fan.
Are you a Vols fan? Nice.
Yeah,
were you upset that Manny didn't come over there?
No, well, after watching his spring games, no, I'm happy he didn't come over.
But he spins the ball. When he drops back, he spins the ball. That's Hall of Fame stuff.
I don't know, man. I mean, hopefully he's good, because his brother and his uncle, obviously his dad, it's in the blood, but
yeah, no pressure.
No pressure, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's for him. You never know, man. It's like he was really good, I guess, in high school, but he could have played the lowest level. You never know who he was actually playing against.
Yeah. What do you think about them coming in the SEC? You got Texas, you got OU coming in. Do you like that, or were you like, get that Big 12 trash out of my league?
No, I think it's good. It's more wins. I'm a Tennessee fan, so it's more wins for Tennessee.
Wow, you heard it here, folks.
But it was, and I'm humble. Of course, hoping, because Tennessee, and that has to play Alabama every year. So Alabama's on the other side. You know how every major conference is broke up into two sides. So Alabama's on the other side, and they signed. You know, they made some agreement forever ago that they have to play each other so now Tennessee's played Alabama every year for like 15 straight years, and of course Alabama's good. So it's always nice to play good competition, but Alabama's been so good lately that it'd be nice to mix it up. So I think that'll change that. So I would much rather play Texas or Oklahoma over Alabama every year.
Yeah.
Brent Venables, I think you might go in there and put something together at OU. I'm not. I mean, I'm an OSU fan, but Brent Venables he can play some defense, coach it at least.
Yeah, I mean it'll be cool. It's just two more really good teams.
Yeah,
in that conference, man. That's a
just
tough
strip
road.
the Big 12 of any kind of money.
Yeah. Sorry, they'll bring in. Maybe I'm a Western Kentucky fan too, so because that's where I grew up. So maybe Western will go over there and get destroyed.
I watched Western Kentucky play the Badgers.
Really, the Cougars?
The Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers, yeah, because their mascot's crazy. We went down and took pictures with them.
Right, yeah, he's always up for the mascot of the year.
Yeah, yeah, he's legit. He's awesome.
Mascot of the year.
They do a good job. I mean, for mid-major, for mid-major school, they do a good job.
This might be like a strike against Wisconsin, but they gave him a game.
No, so every like couple of years, Western's really good because they always get really good quarterbacks because these older quarterbacks go there because all they do is throw the ball, and but then the coach will get really good and then he'll leave for a huge contract. So they'll get a new coach in, he'll be okay, and then they'll get a really good coach and he'll stay there for 2 years and then go to like a major conference. But when you play them in that 2 year span, they're pretty competitive.
Right. You watching the NHL? We're big NHL fans over here.
No, I mean we'll go once in a while just because it's fun to watch, but I don't ever watch them.
Playoff hockey is something different.
It is a fun spectator sport for sure.
It's fun. I like going to watch it. It's fast. You don't realize how fast it is until you actually go there.
Holy right. Those guys are athletes.
They're so crazy. They're ball and muscle, but they move so damn quick.
Yeah,
I tell everybody this is America's sport. When you're on ice, you can beat the shit out of each other. You got a stick, a puck, legal. I mean, come on. Why aren't we? This is UFC meets freaking.
It still blows my mind every time I see the ref back up to just give him a few minutes to
let him go.
Hey, have you ever charged the mound? I meant to ask you that, Cory, in your career. Go all the way back.
No, never have.
Never have.
No, never have. I think the only person I actually almost charged was Dempster. We talked about the Cubs earlier. But no, I mean, I was super. I think they came out with like a top 10 most boring players of the last like 50 years. I was like in the top 10. I was like number 7 or 8.
You're the Tim Duncan of baseball.
That's right.
Just go to work. Bring your lunch pail and your hard hat, and let's go to work.
Yep.
So it's so funny because if I did anything bad, like my dad would like wear me out. Still, I'll be like,
even in the major.
Like I'd be like if I'd be on TV like cussing about a pitch or striking out or throw something. My dad would just wear me out. I'm like, dude. So I was just, I don't know. I was just kind of.
He's like on your ass at Christmas dinner.
I just rolled with it. Yes, I just rolled with it. I'm like, all right. So that was boring, man. We were in a few brawls, which were fun, but I was never the guy the instigator.
But I assume everybody thinks in their head, like, if I do, I'm gonna kick the catcher, like that video I saw.
That was Indianapolis, right? I think that was Indians.
Yep. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a Brewer. I mean, I used to know his name because they talked about it all the time in my minor league camp. That was kind of like the legend of that guy. But he was an Indianapolis Indian.
Yep.
That full circle. You ever step in the box and know that you're about to wear one for something a teammate did?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
When I first came up, I did because of course now you can't do it because everybody's, they'll throw a fit. But back then, like it was just part of the game. Like if Prince or Bronny hit a mammoth homer in front of me and it took forever to do a little dance, like I'm like, great, I'm gonna get hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Like you talk about fucking your buddy. Goddamn, boys.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Well, I didn't mind it because I never walked. and I struck out. So I'm like, sweet, my on base percentage is going up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I use it as a bonus. I
You
just
weren't
made it
bad at
it was to
stealing
me it was
bases.
good. It was an asset. It was an asset. So if they were dickhead teammates, it was benefit me. It benefited me for a minute.
Gets me on base. Yeah, Prince would go full swing extension and then like leave the head of the bat on the ground behind him and just kind of watch it go. And he
Right.
just crushed base.
Well, you
I
can
would see
tell
like,
that
all right, this is gonna.
you could tell
Go ahead.
if you bat your career 271, but your OPS is 806. You got on base.
You took a few.
Yeah, and I never walked a lot, but I always got hit by a pitch because I never got out of the way. But I was like, all right, well, I had to make sure that I added that to my game plan.
So my youngest daughter's 14, and she plays travel ball. She's a softball player and has been since she was little. And she's made a career out of getting on base. Singles, walks, and just
Dude, it's
taking
so
one in the
valuable.
arm.
Any way possible. Get on,
It's so
get over,
valuable.
get in.
It's the only way you can score.
What's so crazy? Because it is, and I always tell these kids because they all think they're home run guys. I'm like, dude, very few people are actually home run guys. Like as you're growing up, I'm like, get on base. I don't care how you do it. Like, and of course I'll be like, get dorn it, and they're like, who's that? And I'm like, come on, watch baseball, watch Major League. Roger Dorn.
Right.
What's this Olay bullshit?
I know we need some more good baseball movies, man. They haven't made any in forever.
It's true.
Major League's the Major League sequel that didn't need to happen. They could have just left us with.
Have you seen the third one?
Yes.
I actually like the minor league. I like the minor league one a lot better than the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
think baseball's really trying to appeal to the younger crowd with the bigger bases and the faster time. They're trying to get in there.
Yeah, they want steals. They want home runs.
That's like me. Like I know people get aggravated at some of the celebrations, but I'm like, everything evolves and it kind of moves in different directions, and I don't mind it. I mean, everybody hated it when the guys do it, but now it's like kind of going back and forth. Now if a pitcher does anything crazy, I'm like, well, you just threw your bat halfway across the field when you hit a homer, so he can scream all he wants when he strikes you out.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it, man. I think it's part of it. If it's allowed, let them do it.
Oh, I was froze, not you guys. That was a me problem. Are you back to football? Are you ready for the Jordan Love era? Do you think we're going to be okay post Aaron Rodgers?
I think so, man. Well, because Jordan came in a few times last year and looked so good. I don't know if Rodgers obviously was a little down last year, but every time Love came in and did something, he was pretty positive. So, I mean, I'm excited, man. I think we'll see what happens. It's always, when it's your job, it's a little more challenging. Like it's a little easier in coming in knowing that doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be the guy. So, I think so.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
That's almost a no pressure situation for him, right? Because he knows nobody expects him to be Aaron Rodgers, so he can kind of just be himself.
Yeah, I think So he just has to go, and if he wins some games, they just got to get off to a good start.
Yeah.
If he gets off to a good start, I think he could be really good.
You start 0-2, 0-3, people are going to start freaking out.
Then he'll get worn out, and that's a little more pressure. So.
We just got the draft in Green Bay. That's going to be a logistical nightmare, no? I don't see where all these people are going to go.
Where are they going to park?
I mean, how many people come to the drafts? It's got to be a lot, right?
I mean, it looked like
in Kansas City,
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, it looked like a shit show in Kansas City, and they were ready for it. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like in Green Bay.
How many does Green Bay sit?
I think around 50, 60 these
50?
days since the renovation.
Well, I was saying because we've been there. I've been there a few times where it's been sold out for 60,000, and that was a nightmare. I couldn't imagine put in there 50,000 people around there. That's
yeah, every house is going to be an Airbnb. I don't think they can accommodate.
Yeah, that neighborhood's going to get rich though.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do all right during home games, charging 25. I assume it's 50 in Joe Biden's America to park on somebody's lawn. 6 blocks from the game. I don't even know how they do it other places. I've only been to Packer games, so it would be weird for me to pull into a large parking lot.
And you actually have in Arizona. You actually have a parking lot. It's crazy. you don't have to park in somebody's yard and walk a mile and a half to the field.
Yeah, Arizona's a popular destination. It's where everybody moves to relax. Other than the smoldering,
it's hot, but it's not. There's a lot to do here. And of course,
you got 6 horses.
I got a lot of horses, man. But it's hot for like 2.5 months. Then the rest of the weather. Then the rest is hard to beat.
Yeah, it's sort of like here. You just got to survive November through June. And then you're okay.
So yeah, that's why people always say like, "Oh, how do you live here?" I'm like, "Well, it's go somewhere else." The bad weather lasts a lot longer than Arizona's bad weather.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and when it's bad weather here, you can either travel. Like the only thing here, you can't ride horses in the summer, so you got to travel. But you still at night, you still can swim. There's plenty of things to do inside.
Yeah, I suppose the horses just stay in the barn during July and August.
So yeah, I mean for the most part, but we have the horses have misters and fans but during the mornings, even if it's 115 at night or during the day, it's gonna be 90 at night. When you wake up, it might be 80. So it's you still have breaks, and 80 or 90 here is not 80 or 90 here is probably 50 there.
Yeah. Oh, much different.
There's no humidity, so it's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
80 and no sun, that sounds tolerable.
Because it almost hit 70 today, Corey, and I was about to die. I was like, I'm not doing all this all summer. Fuck this shit.
80. No, so if it's 80 here is nice because people will wear jackets and shit.
Yeah, the time I've been to Phoenix, it was beautiful. It was 100 degrees. We were golfing, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder how warm it is." And I was like, "Are you serious? It's 100? It feels like 80."
Yeah, 100 is not that bad. It's just when it gets over 110, that's when it sucks.
Yeah, my Riley was born in Mesa, Arizona. She was going to be born up north, but there was some complications, so we got on a puddle jumper and flew down to Mesa and had her in Phoenix.
Nice. Mesa, that's on the other side. So we're at Goodyear, so we're west.
Oh, Goodyear. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's beautiful country out there, but it does take a special. I mean, you gotta like it, the desert, because it's desert.
It's different, man. It's so funny. Except my son, I have 4 kids. My youngest is 13, and every time we were just in Kansas City for 3 days for graduation, and every time we go somewhere green, he's like, "Oh my god, it's like you threw up here," just because he's not used to seeing that much green and trees everywhere.
What is all this foliage?
Goodyear's out there. Surprise? Is that by Surprise?
Yeah, we're kind of
Yeah. Okay.
Just,
why would you name a town Surprise? What happened there? What went up to that?
Well, I think it's a big senior. It's a big senior place, so it's surprise. Everybody goes to bed at 7. It's
right after the wheel.
Surprise, we're closed.
We're closed, right?
Do you guys go to any Arizona games? Do you get to see the big stadium?
We'll go some. So my friend of mine, in the rodeo, his one of his relatives bought Randy Johnson's tickets, so they're crazy good. So we'll go to one of the Brewer games when they're here, just because the seats are so good. But that's about it. I watch everything on TV, so I'm good. I can yell at my TV and drink for a lot cheaper just being here.
Hell yeah! Did you go over who's going to win the World Series yet?
Nope.
Who's going to win the World Series, Corey? Where do I put my money?
Can the Rays keep this up?
I know. It's hard to go against the Rays, man. That's what I'm saying. It's so crazy they can do it for a fraction of the cost that everybody else does. Because they're not at $100 million, are they?
The Rays at 86.
Wow.
It's so crazy.
Is that just team chemistry?
That's just they're talking about their minor league coaches they must be amazing because because they develop a lot of guys, and they trade guys, but when they trade guys, they trade for like the right fit type of guys. So I don't know. They do a really good job. Their scouting must be really good. But again, to be able to, and they pitch, man. Their pitching is so good, and Kevin Cash is kind of like Counsell. Like he manipulates his team really well. So
That's
I
a
don't know,
skill.
Sorry, I was wrong. Tampa Bay at 73 million.
What?
And then only under them is Baltimore and Oakland. Oakland's at 56 total.
Fernando Tatis is probably making
Yes.
$70 million this year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well,
I like how.
sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say there's 3 players on the Padres that are making more than Oakland's entire payroll.
Well, I know. I just like how they with Tatis, they act like he didn't get in trouble for like steroids, so they always like, oh, he's back, bring him back. He's a savior. I'm like, you're like, he completely screwed your franchise last year.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, he was a huge reason they didn't make it to the World Series.
Huge.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, he's our savior now. I'm like, all
right. I mean, she's probably gonna do it again, but if you believe that she's done cheating, I guess you take her back to celebrate.
Here you are back at McDonald's the night
Right.
after.
Yeah.
How did we get here again?
Yep. Now your clothes are in garbage bags again because you trust.
Don't trust her.
It's on the
There's a
phone
lot
one
of
morning.
there's a lot of X experience on this podcast. Apparently.
Right.
right.
Hey, so we talk a lot about this, Cory. Why do you think, or it's not really MLB's fault, but what do you think about them taking Ohtani and Trout and getting them on teams that we can watch?
That'd be cool.
I saw more of Ohtani and Trout in the World Baseball Classic.
Seriously.
In their entire career at the Angels.
Right. So I mean, I live here. I live in Arizona, so I watch every game. So obviously I watch those 2 because they're ridiculously good. So
It's phenomenal.
either one of them, one of them does something good every game. So I watch all their games, and I feel bad because Trout signed a huge extension there, and then I would imagine if they don't make the postseason, Ohtani's going to go to somewhere else. So for being a selfish like West Coast person, I want him to make the playoffs just so he stays there. So it's because they're kind of fun to watch.
They're really fun to watch. I don't know why they don't win more. Can you figure that out? Do you know what's going on
I
there?
said they always make a splash in the pitching, but for whatever reason, guys will be like have great years or great careers going in there. For whatever reason, they don't pitch well there.
Yeah, every morning it's like Trout went 3 for 4 with 2 homers. Ohtani had 9 strikeouts and 3 bases, 2 runs scored, and they lost 8-7.
It's tough. I mean, obviously they're off to a pretty decent start right now, but their pitching I think it's the pressure because everybody always talks about Trout making the postseason and getting there, so it's that like extra like added pressure to make sure that you perform well for one of our one of the best players ever. So I'm sure it's a little extra pressure, but I wanted to win so I can watch it, and they're close.
I put a future in last night on Arizona making the playoffs. What do you think that's safe?
They're overachieving.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun to watch, man.
They are. I enjoy them.
We went last year because Milwaukee, they were really good, and that Arizona series killed them.
Yeah,
that kind of knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And I was just watching that team. I'm like, God, if these guys ever get a bullpen, they're gonna be really good because their starters are good, and they had a good, fat, like young kind of team that's really quick. So they bunt, they run a ton. So they're exciting to watch, and their bullpen's getting a little better. I mean, they still need a few pieces down there, but I think they're postseason bound for sure.
As a scrappy, like fast team, these rule changes kind of played into their hands a little bit.
It does, and I know that it sucks that the bigger bases are, weird, but it actually helps them out because they still have a ton of bases, and that extra 2 or 3 inches is it makes a huge difference for teams like that run a lot.
Absolutely. For stealing,
yeah.
I mean, they're right nipping on the Dodgers' heels right now.
Yeah,
and I know it's early, but I mean, we have fun with it. We're huge baseball fans, so I just really pay attention here on the 29 and 21 for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, I think they already played LA 7 times. I think they were 4-3 or 5-2 against them.
That'll work. I mean, that's your biggest competition in division. See the Diamondbacks. in the postseason with those weird pinstripe jerseys. Do they break those out anymore? The aqua. Why is everything down there turquoise, Corey?
I think it's like the reservation stuff.
Yeah, Navajo.
Native
like
American,
that turquoise thing is kind of like, I know it's something to do with that culture. I just don't know what it is, but I think they kind of stick that in there. But I like it in moderation.
Yeah, nice calming hue.
Right.
Have you been keeping up with the NBA at all?
Not really. I was watching. I watched postseason, I guess, a little bit. Of course.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people are, they love the Sun, so I watched a little bit of that. But I was pretty happy LeBron got knocked out.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I was pretty happy about that.
I think Boston has a chance to be the first team to ever come back from 3-0.
Yeah, the last 2 games have looked really good.
Yeah, I've been losing money gambling on Jimmy Butler closing out that series, and he's been 0 for 2 for me.
Well, if they win Game 6, they're not going to win in Boston.
Nope.
That's what. So Vegas
Game 6 is Game 7 for them.
Vegas has them at better odds to win the whole championship than the Miami Heat. So, and if it does go to Game 7, Vegas has them winning the whole series.
Yeah, I think Miami's got to win that Game 6, or they don't need to give them a flight.
Yeah, don't even bother.
Yep. Yeah.
Jokic and them are just sitting there resting up, sipping margaritas.
That guy is so good.
He's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It looks like he should be working at like a bread mill or something.
Yeah.
He's a doughy guy.
Dominates.
There's some really bad blood between Miami and Denver. I think that series would get really, really intense. I don't think we'll see it, but if Miami does go there, there's some bad blood there.
Yeah, and Miami would have to kind of be really like aggressive to have a chance. So if they could get like Jokic like fouled out and like kicked out of the game for messing with him, that's their only chance.
Yeah, Eric Spoelstra is a great coach.
Guy's averaging a 30-point triple-double in the playoffs.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That is crazy. Yeah. I'm a Suns fan just because here we're here, and they weren't playing the Bucks. So I was hoping the Suns. But every time that turned on, he was 30, 20, 10 or something. Like, gosh, this guy doesn't. He's a point guard and a 7-foot body.
Yeah, he moves so slow, yet everybody around him has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
No,
it's weird to watch. He's going to fall back and make the shot. It's like there's 2 guys. Doesn't matter. All these teams like, who are we going to put on him? Who are we going to put him on? I don't know. Anthony Davis is a zillionaire, evidently, because he plays a little defense. I didn't see it.
That was the old Anthony Davis. Now he doesn't want to play defense because he don't want to spring something.
No. I love the comparisons for Jokic too. It's like Arvydas Sabonis and like all these European guys that could Vlade Divac, obviously, but you have to go back like 20 years because the game has completely morphed, and then he's such a throwback that people are like, he's the next Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Gesundheit.
Well, before we get out of here, Corey, I don't want to keep you all night. I want to hear, what's your favorite Ryan Braun? Do you have a favorite Ryan Braun story? Everybody.
Well, I mean, I have a funny Braun story. It's so funny because if anybody ever asked Braun, like he had some amazing moments, and like he was really good for a long time. But if anybody was asking me, I would make fun of him for it. Like, so when he came up in spring training, so Tucson used to have a, that was like it was like the White Sox and the Diamondbacks. So we were down there playing like late. It was like his first spring training. So we go down there and he was still playing third, which he was terrible at third. But he had two really bad errors where he threw one ball into the stands and he threw another ball like off the facing of the dugout. But he was always, do you have like the loud talking guys that are on the phone that like not everybody has to hear you. So we're on the bus and he's surrounded by like, older guys, and all you hear is him loud talking, like bragging about his game. He had like a swinging bunt and a rollover, and so we're on the bus and everybody's like trying to go to sleep because it's a long day in the heat. And he's like, "Hey, yeah, I made a few errors. They saw the arm strength." they saw how hard I can throw. I got a cannon. And I'm like, what? He was bragging about how hard he could throw, but the ball wasn't even, nothing was even close.
30 yards above the first baseman's head.
Dude.
Yeah.
But they saw the arm. We're good.
They seen the howitzer I got attached to the shoulder.
I feel like that's such a third base trope where it's like, I don't care if I miss as long as I threw it 101 miles an hour. I crow hop.
Yeah, like the showcase. Yeah, crow hop and do like somersault and get it there as quick as possible. But no.
Get out of here.
That's awesome. I love that.
Hey, I really appreciate you coming on, Cory. This was a good time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, lending this young upstart network a little notoriety.
No, man, I appreciate you guys throwing a few bones in my daughter's waist. That was huge. She has to cover a lot of costs. Any of that is definitely well wanted. So we appreciate it.
We play travel. I told you play travel softball. It's not cheap.
No, and it just gets worse.
It's a commitment.
It is a commitment. So
yeah,
and that's like me. I'm done with that now. So I got to figure out what else to do.
Does the little one play anything? The 13.
No, he's the 13. He plays. He's like musical. He'll play like piano. He's
nice.
He likes the piano. He does that stuff. And then of course, like every other kid, he's on the video games.
Yeah, my kid's a chess kid. Chess and video games. Yeah.
Maybe come around mid-August, September. Maybe we'll check back in and see if you can come back on and tell us about the SEC.
Yeah, give me a shot, man.
We will.
Catch up on Riley, see what's going on with that.
Yeah, make sure you tweet all that. That's so we can.
I tweet it.
That'll be awesome.
I tweet out, so
yeah,
that'll be fun.
We got barrel racing fever over here now.
Nice. See, I'll keep you guys informed.
Hopefully, she'll be on our fantasy team sometime.
Yep.
She would definitely know more than we would. So.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. We truly do appreciate it. Thank you, Cory, for joining us. Go to patriotsportsnow.com, find all of our goings on. This weekend we have the Indy 500. Our very own Carrie Donovan at the track, publishing a new article on the website every 15 minutes. So go check that out. Till next time, be good to each other. Chris, kick the outro music.
You've been listening to Patriot Sports Radio. If you're sick of all the national talking heads and biases of mainstream sports media, like we are, this show is for you. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure